One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free, so let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken, he rides up to his ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. The whistlers report he paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Wow, good morning to all of you legends, man. We got all of you freaking amazing people in here. Let's get it this morning. We got a lot to discuss this morning, as you guys obviously know. This is what we do Monday through Friday. It's kind of crazy. We got Hormuz Blockade continues, of course, and we have some developments regarding the blockade and what Trump has recently, even just this morning, said. He's actually claiming that it's going to be opened up pretty soon, like if not like something like today, tomorrow, whatever. But we'll see about that. Nonetheless, and then we have Iran war tensions and Pope Leo in Africa. All right, so let's give you guys a chronological breakdown of or timeline of what we are looking at this morning. So yesterday, Marco Rubio and a whole bunch of people met in D.C., as you guys know, on the negotiations of basically the talks between Lebanon and Israel. So we have that for you guys. It happened in Washington, D.C., and it says U.S. hosts historical talks between Lebanon and Israel, and we have a very short segment on that, as most of the times that these conversations are happening, they'll show very briefly in the media that they're doing it, and then they are kicked out of the room, and then it's all private from there. And then we have, of course, the representatives. Yesterday we were discussing about them basically retiring or giving up the seat. We have updates on both of them. So we have Eric Swalwell, accuser speaks out. So that's a big deal. And then we have Senator Gallego, by the way, totally different person, but he is responding and talking about his relationship with Eric Swalwell. And then we have Senate leadership remarks amid Iran conflict, which is, I think they're specifically showing the Democrats in the Senate in particular for that. Then we have Iran war was, quote, has halted world's economic momentum, IMF says. I'm not really even sure what IMF is. It says Bill Adams, chief U.S. economist at Fifth Third Commercial Bank, joins live now, which is interesting, to discuss the International Monetary Fund downgrading its forecast for global economic growth as the Iran war rages on. The organization said this week that the conflict in the Middle East has, quote, halted the world's economic momentum, adding the damage, quote, can remain limited. I don't think that any of us are shocked by those statements. I think that we're definitely going to see obviously a short-term impact like we have been watching and we're going to continue to have. But then, truthfully, how long will this linger after the war and it's completely finished? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I hope that it would be quick. And then we have, as of last night, it was like actually midnight when this came out. It says U.S. says no ships have passed Iran blockade in first 36 hours. And then we also have, just 3 hours ago this morning, CENTCOM declares U.S. dominance of Hormuz Strait amid Iran war. Now, what they are talking about, declares U.S. dominance. They're talking about a Navy dominance in the Strait of Hormuz over there. So that is something very in particular that needs to be focused on. And then just a couple of hours ago, this was breaking 2 hours ago, Trump permanently opening Strait of Hormuz, and Trump saying China is happy. That is what we're looking at right now for this morning, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick, and then we'll get right into the craziness. Make sure you guys hit that like button and double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Listen, it is absolutely free to do so. And you know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, members only for Saturday morning. Now, talking about memberships, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. It's what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. A little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, man. Make sure you guys, direct message me over there. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And we also have a Discord server for all of you legends to continue the conversation. As you guys know, we're only on this airwaves for an hour per day, so it's not like we're on here all day being able to have these crazy conversations as we go with breaking news and stuff. So we continue the conversation in Discord, man. The video, the invite link is in the video description down below of any live video that we do. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen, and anytime you guys can donate to that, and of course, I will read out loud whatever comes to us, and I get 100% of the proceeds, and I'll read it out loud just like a super chat, man. So we're always going to be scanning. I've got my email up, ready to rock and roll on that aspect. All right, great to see everyone in the chat, man. I'm very honored to be able to have your guys' engagement and being here with us this morning. I'm very appreciative. Let's see. We're going to try to go down the list as fast as humanly possible. Trust me, I love all of you guys, but it's getting harder and harder with the amount of people that are coming in, man. We got Steve Posey as well as Prez in the building. Shout out to you. And he says he's been offshore. Shout out to you. We got Jimmy Mack as well as Naomi in the building. Shout out to you and good morning to you guys. We got Gary as well. We got Mr. Al Patterson. Yes, sir. And we got Rabbit of Chaos, as well as Easy Frank. We got Dylan Patterson. Yes, sir. Great to see you. We got Pops as well. He's ready to rock and roll, I see. I very much appreciate that. We got Lappy in the building as well as Huggy. Good morning to you, kind sir. And chatting with Sax. Hopefully you're all enjoying your Whip 'em Out Wednesday. I definitely know that so far we are. We got Cameron in the building as well as Motobomb Virginia, by the way. And thank you, Motobomb, for the raid from the coffee crew this morning. Very honored by your guys' support. We got Roger, my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat as well. Rolling our way down. We got Two Wheel Jesus. Shout out to you. And we got the like button, which is Crystal. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. We got Jack Talcott. Blessings to you, kind sir. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning as well. We got Roland in the building as well as Dean. Appreciate you, Dean. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning. Let's see. We're scrolling down as fast as possible. We got Brother Dean as well. Good morning. And Mike, did you hear about the Fauci raid? No, I actually did not. I will look into that to give you some more context tomorrow if possible. We got America Uncensored as well. Good morning. And we got Mr. Josh Phillips over there on the Facebook side of things. We got Tiffany as well. All right, we got to get right into this. I know that, I'm trying to say hi and try to show love to all of our people here. All right, we're going to go ahead and start off with Iran update. U.S. hosts historical talks between Lebanon and Israel. This happened in Washington, D.C. yesterday, as we reported yesterday morning that this would be happening, and this happened yesterday evening. So let's go ahead and play this out. It's a really quick minute and a half, and then they kick I'm assuming they kick the media out so that they can have their private conversation. But let's go ahead and see what we got.
Bringing a permanent end to 20 or 30 years of Hezbollah's influence in this part of the world.
Are you kidding me? You can't get a decent fucking microphone in there somewhere? You can't have like the boom mics up there trying to grab some audio?
Not just the damage that's inflicted on Israel, the damage that's inflicted on the Lebanese.
Okay, that's cool and all, but I'm not going to listen to that.
Move forward to create the more than just one day. This will take time, but we believe
There's more than one day. It'll take time. Of course it will. We know that on all aspects of these wars. And then this is when they get kicked out. Yep, everyone's getting kicked out so that they can have their conversation. Now, I wish we had actually some decent audio on that, and as well as more coverage than that. But unfortunately, that's really all we got. All right, so we're going to go into Eric Swalwell. As you guys know, we were discussing him and his sexual assault case. His accuser actually comes out and speaks out yesterday, supposedly. Let's go ahead and bring it up, and we'll go ahead and discuss it and see what is happening here.
The accuser, one of the accusers of Eric Swalwell, is having a press conference right now. Let's go ahead and take that live.
Oh, wow. She's doing a whole press conference.
Eric Fudali and I will also have statements. Lana will not be answering questions.
She looks like she's out of place or something. She's like, I don't know where I'm at. Where am I at right now? You mean, do you see her?
Eric Fudali and I will be answering.
She's like, who are you talking next to me? Who is this? Why do I have microphones?
Questions after the statements. Thank
She's just super nervous, obviously.
you all for coming. Lana,
Hello, everyone.
get closer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned
A model in Beverly Hills? Bruh. Like, really? Bruh.
a fashion software company. I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially.
Totally, Cameron.
He offered me connections to further my software company. And I
Yeah, you're probably right, Steve Easy. Maybe she's on a couple perk 30s. You know what I mean? She feeling no pain.
also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend.
Listen, I'm sorry. Women that he was my friend. Let me try to. That is ignorance. Men don't want to be women's friend. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. There are certain circumstances that, yes, that is true. And sometimes that it's like related to one of your best friends or something like that. There's always an exception to the rule, but the exception does not make the rule. Most men do not want to be your friend.
On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink.
I got you, Josh Phillips. That's a fact. Wild
I
card,
only
good
had
morning.
1 glass of wine.
She had a glass of wine, she says.
We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated.
That's funny, Scotty. If you're referring to me, well, I actually have 0 problems in that department. You can even ask this chat. So it
And
looks like you are projecting yourself.
I couldn't move
I'm doing just fine.
my arms or my body. He raped me. And he choked me.
Damn.
And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me.
That's awesome, bro. I'm glad that I can entertain you. And guess what? Well, let me ask you a question. How's your YouTube channel? How's your career doing? Probably just don't have a channel, don't talk about anything. Before you get on the net and start talking shit, and this is the last time I'm responding to you, by the way. If you want me to respond to you, you can send me money. But you are a full-blown retard. Appreciate it.
I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a
What's up, biker babe? Good morning to you, by the way. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning so far.
profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way. I did not want to live anymore.
Jeez, man. We got Liquored Up with Poncho, my man. Good morning to you. And yes, this is a crazy story so far.
I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swalwell. That reality
What's up, Scott? Good morning.
further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed
Swalwell was a Democrat representative in Congress.
me in proximity to political figures and events, and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was in.
Now, I do want to say that I don't know this to be a fact, okay, obviously, but from what the headlines are talking about, what other political analysts are talking about, what reports have been, they're saying it could be up to 50 women.
Bruh.
That's insane. So this is like one of 50 that have been subject to this shit. That's unreal.
Interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide.
Now, Nick, I really do think that this might hold some merit here. Trust me, I'm not very much a fan of somebody like coming out later on and saying I didn't take a rape kit, and I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't report it. But there's a little bit of validation when there's multiple women involved. If it's not just one person doing it, there's other women involved. So that's the part that makes it fishy. And yes, I got you, Al Patterson.
My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never
I didn't know Swalwell had like actual ties to, well, I really don't know much about him nonetheless. So, I mean, it's not surprising that I don't know, but I didn't know that he was tied to any type of law enforcement.
What happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward.
Look it up with Poncho coming and becoming a member. He's already been a member, so I'm not really sure why it says new member. But hey, very much appreciate you renewing and making it rain in the chat, my man. I very much appreciate your support. Definitely goes a long way, bro.
And I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
Oh, there it is. I don't know why it just popped up now. There's the 12 months. 1 full year. He says 1 year, my boys. Yes, sir. I very much appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Hey, you.
Why are you gay?
I got you.
You are gay.
Shit. Now she's done, I guess? Who else is going to speak?
Hello, my name is Eric Fudali. I'm a partner and I'm the managing attorney.
Yeah, he almost ate that fucking microphone.
Of the Bloom firm, and I'm very proud here to represent.
Okay, so this guy that's speaking is the lawyer now. I mean, honestly, I really don't care about what the lawyer has to say. I really only cared about what she had to say. So we're going to move on from that because we do have a lot to get through this morning. And at least we heard her remarks, which is what we needed right there. All right, so we got Senator Gallego, I think that's how you say his name, on his relationship with Eric Swalwell. We're just talking about Swalwell, so we're going to keep this in line real quick before we get into the Senate leadership remarks amid the Iran conflict and Iran war has, quote, halted world's economic momentum. We have all these things we've got to get to, and that's just a couple. We have like 5, 6 more stories to get through.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I called this today because there's just a lot of rumors going around about me, about my family. And, unfortunately, this is not the first time. I had to deal with the same BS in 2024 and 2023 when they ran millions and millions of dollars of smears against me, lied about me.
Yeah, this guy too, by the way.
Why are you gay?
Lied about my family. And to same damn people again. Carrie Lake, Chris LaCivita, bunch of political operatives. They couldn't do in 2024.
Uncross your arms, dude.
Trying to do again in 2026. So I want to make a couple of things very clear. Number one.
No, good morning.
Eric Swalwell lied to all of us. He lied to the most powerful people in this country. And they trusted him. They trusted him with some of the most sensitive spots in our government, whether it was on Judiciary Committee, Intel Committee, impeaching Donald Trump. And that clouded my judgment.
Man, that background noise, that white noise from like a really cranked up microphone, I hate that. I know that I'm being nitpicky, as you guys know. I'm a stickler for good audio.
My friendship with him, our family's friendship together with him, clouded my judgment. And I was wrong. I deeply, deeply regret that. The women that came forward are courageous, and they still deserve justice. But to be clear again, I also had no knowledge of predatory behavior, sexual assault, or harassment.
Well, you got to remember, Swalwell is a representative in Congress, but he's also running to be the California governor right now. Now, mind you, there is a lot of, there's like 9. I can't remember how many there were. I remember not that long ago, maybe a month and a half ago or something like that, I was watching like 9 people on a fucking stage debate being the governor, right? So for California. And I watched the whole thing, and it was just a whole bunch of nonsense, to be honest.
And unfortunately right now,
Fidel, good morning.
People that are attacking in 2024 are using this horrible situation that's been thrown upon these women, thrown upon Eric Swalwell's family, and using this as an excuse to politically attack me, lie about me.
Yep, that's actually legitimately what we reported on yesterday. Now we are getting more context to the whole development of why he dropped out.
And lie about my family, and I will not take that lightly. So with that, I'll gladly take any questions, because we're here, and I'm not going to let the same thing create that.
And we'll allow 2, 3, 4 questions maybe. We're not going to listen to this whole thing. We're going to get a little bit of his side. This is a Democrat representative from Arizona, Senator Gallego.
We're not going to rush on, so don't worry.
Thank you so much. Swalwell had called you his best friend. You have never asked him about any of the rumors that have been swirling around Democratic politics of his inappropriate behavior?
I did. Look.
Yo, real quick, thank you for that, Steve Easy. Unfortunately, I can't see that side, the donations on the vertical side. But real quick, Fidel coming in and sent 100 for 2 joules. I very much appreciate that, by the way, making it rain on the chat side. I very much appreciate that.
We knew each other differently from everyone else. My family and his family were as close as it gets. Our kids were in baseball camp together. We had dinner together as a family. It was entirely different, I think, what people understand. But when there was rumors going around a couple of weeks ago, not of the Fullerton or whatever in San Francisco Chronicle, I did ask him, and he lied to me. He knew that I just came off a very, very hard campaign for 2 years, where they lied about me and my family for 2 years. He manipulated me to have the same sentiment that I was having back in the day and used as an opportunity to move me to defend him.
How did you not know about the allegations of considering?
Oh, you just wait long enough there, Steve Easy. I'm sure they'll pop up.
You chaired his presidential campaign. Wouldn't some of this have come up? Some of those allegations predated when he ran for office.
Again, this man led a double life. He lied to us. He lied to his family, lied to his constituents. Some of the most powerful people in this country. Even before he ran, he was trusted with some positions.
It's so funny how everyone basically around him so far is what we have gathered is he lived a double life. We knew nothing about it. That shit is a lie, okay? You ain't got to lie to kick it.
Stop the cap.
We all know that you all knew, you know what I mean? But now they're covering up their own political careers because trust me, what these guys do, the point is they do everything to get elected and then they do and say everything to get reelected. That's really it. So they're only out for their own political careers. And so when shit like this goes down, you'll see them going, well, I didn't know anything about that shit. Yeah, fucking right. You absolutely did. Now, I'm not saying him himself. I'm just talking about like no one in Congress knew about it. Get out of here with that rhetoric.
Normally, we would never think someone like this could do if they're leading that double life. And
see how that double life, quote unquote, nomenclature is being used? Everyone in Congress right now is, oh, he lived a double life. We didn't know anything about it.
Again, I was manipulated. I was lied to. And everyone else was too.
Senator, would you release any text messages you have?
Mr. L. Patterson, that's a good point. We should do that. We shall.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that was actual factuals. You know what I mean? Actual factuals.
Denied.
All right, let's go ahead and get back into this.
With Eric Swalwell to prove your innocence here?
Anybody that asks, or any legal, proceedings that need, will get whatever they want, without a doubt.
You release all your documents?
Yeah, any legal proceedings. The ethics interviews, or if there's subpoenas or anything else like that, legal proceedings, anything else. If you get sued, we'll release everything without...
I just want to understand when
it's good to hear, Stevie
him,
Z.
in light of these allegations coming forward, and then when they did grow more serious into sexual assault,
yes.
Did you call him again and ask your friend, did you lie to me?
No.
Ask your friend? Did you ask your friend?
I called him the day, a few minutes after I read that article, and I told him, drop out.
Which article?
The San Francisco Chronicle article. Drop out.
And you didn't speak to him then when CNN...
And thank you, Fidel, for the extra 100 on top of it, the 2 jewels on the other side. Appreciate that.
I don't remember the timeline, but as soon as I read about the San Francisco Chronicle article, like a minute after, if I got off stage, I called him and said, it's time to drop out.
What did he say? Is this true? Is this not true?
I told him to drop out. He denied everything. I told him, you have to drop out. We'll start taking back.
There's a video online
I was telling him, you have to drop out. We didn't talk about anything else. I just told him that you have to drop out. All right. Well, all right. Sounds good. We got enough cope and all of that. We don't need to sit there for 30 minutes listening to him go on and on and on and on, right? So we're going to move on. We got, speaking of liberals, it looks like we've got the Senate, the liberal Senate, that comes out, and their leadership has remarks amid the Iran conflict. All right, let's go ahead and bring that up. Also, I say that we need to embrace our fuck ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Embrace thy process. You know what I mean? All right, let's go ahead and get into this.
Now, twice in this last year, forced people within the department to go without pay for extended periods of time. Republicans have tried repeatedly, not only through the bipartisan appropriations process, to ensure that the department and all the agencies and all the employees and all the functions are funded. We've tried to do it that way. Democrats have blocked it. We've tried to do clean extensions, continuing resolutions that would fund those agencies, and those were also blocked by the Democrats. So the Democrats can't seem to take yes for an answer on anything. And for all what they have done here, for all intents and purposes, is shut down the appropriations process. So Republicans have been forced to do this the hard way, but we did, thankfully, because of the work that we did last summer, have been able to ensure that people at those agencies in that department are being paid. And thankfully for that, and then coupled with that.
What's up, brother GEG? Good morning to you. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday, by the way. And you know what I haven't told you guys to do yet, unfortunately? I feel bad because it's already been 28 minutes into the show. I haven't said, you guys got to hit that like button. Double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. You guys don't have to like all this craziness that's happening around the world or inside our nation. You guys can like it for me and what we're doing here on Insane Wheels. So thank you guys for your laborious work on that.
The intention that we now have to come in behind that and pass a reconciliation bill that would enable those agencies to continue to be funded 3 years into the future. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, as I think about it, what the Democrats got out of all this. Thanks to the work we did last summer in the Working Families Tax Cuts bill, the ICE and CBP agencies are funded. Both people, field staff, but also, civilian staff, office staff are all being funded. And thanks to the good work that the president did, some of the other agencies within the department are currently being funded. All of the things that the Democrats made this about, which was supposed to be about reforms to the way that ICE and CBP operate.
Hell yeah, I see that real quick. Fidel coming in with the gold coin for 10 joules. Thank you for making it rain over there. My man.
Right. They got none of that. Zero. And now we're going to fund those agencies for 3 years into the future. The only thing the Democrats got out of this was they now own the issue of open borders and defund law enforcement. Honestly, I don't know what else they walk away from with this other than, again, trying to destroy the appropriations process, which historically has been done in a bipartisan way. But the Republicans are going to stand with our Border Patrol, with our law enforcement agencies, and we're going to ensure that they are funded not only today, but well into the future. And so the budget resolution Senator Graham is preparing, we will have on the floor hopefully as early as next week. We'll provide multiple years of funding for these agencies, and a reconciliation bill, which will follow shortly after, will ensure that that job gets done. So that's where we are.
Now, I assumed when we first started this was going to be the liberal side of the Senate speaking out, because usually they're the ones that have been speaking out recently, where they're coming out and having press. I mean, we even watched it yesterday. So it's interesting. I assumed it was going to be the Democrats, but it looks like it's obviously the Republican side. We'll see.
Are in the process, but we're going to move quickly, decisively.
Mr. Al Patterson with the 5. Now we talking. Not only helping me, but you're helping 5 others in the IWF, my man. Thank you very much for the support. It definitely goes a long way.
And hopefully in a very focused way on ensuring that those important law enforcement agencies, contrary to the Democrats' defund law enforcement efforts, are funded not only today, but well into the future.
Mr. Leader, on Iran leader, President Trump has repeatedly threatened civilian infrastructure. Last week he said that if his demands weren't met, an entire civilization would die. Are those kinds of threats from the president something you're comfortable with?
I think what you got to, again, look at what the president is doing. And I think
what's up, Hardwire? Good morning to you as well. Good morning.
Right now he's trying to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which I think we are all supportive of, and the efforts that are being made there to further isolate the Iranian regime and their economy, which is an energy-dependent economy, hopefully will have desired effect, and we'll get the Strait open again. And that's sort of their last resort. I mean, the military effort here has been extraordinarily successful. This is the sort of the last dying gasp of this regime, is to try and shut down the Strait, and the administration is making an effort to ensure that it's open, that there can be traffic in and out of there, and hopefully that'll be successful, and we can begin to see this thing wind down.
Mr. Leader, I know that your challenge is to try to keep this reconciliation bill as narrow as possible. Are you and the Speaker on the same page as to what will be in this bill?
We have spoken regularly, and the White House has been involved in all these conversations. So, I don't speak for the House or how they do things. We have our own unique challenges here in the Senate. But as we initiate this process, the budget resolution followed up with a reconciliation bill, and it will include are all elements that I think that, as we have talked with the Speaker and folks in the House of Representatives, they understand where we're going.
You worried they're going to ask for other things, though?
Well, they could. I mean, we have members who want other things. I mean, I want other things. But obviously, we have a specific mission and purpose here, and that is to ensure that these important agencies of our government that have vital functions when it comes to our homeland and national security are funded. That is a narrow and specific purpose. And my hope would be that if we can execute on getting that done here in the Senate, the House will be able to follow through.
Can I ask you on the issue of funding the government, though? It has been weeks since the Senate passed their bill to keep DHS funded. It is still sitting in the House. How long are they going to be sitting on that package before DHS is finally funded?
Well, again, and this, remember.
Well, that's the part is he's not going to be like, oh yeah, it'll be done in a week and a half from now or something like that. They don't fucking know. In order for it to get back through the House, because you got to remember, the House made a proposal for DHS funding, basically. It went up to the Senate, and we all actually expected it to pass the Senate. We actually expected that. And then it got kicked back to the House saying, no, we ain't doing it this way. So then basically the Senate makes a proposal, went back to the House, and it's up to them kind of to get on board. And I think that they have a different idea of funding DHS than the Senate does, for instance. So this makes it definitely complex, and it's going to be a whole bunch of kicking the can back to each other from the House to the Senate. And so as somebody that's an analyst in this kind of, in this trade or whatever the case is, I look at this as going, well, I can't give you guys an actual timeline. This could be kicked back and forth forever, theoretically. I mean, hopefully not, obviously. I want this shit to be funded and moved on, but we all know how politics plays.
This all happened because Democrats would not vote to fund any of these law enforcement agencies.
What's up, Miss Lotus? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
But I'm hopeful that if we can show evidence and progress, and if we can get on this next week, which I think we can, on a budget resolution that would ensure that we are going to fund these agencies, that the House will be...
You be safe out there, Naomi. Appreciate
the appropriations package. Right now, as you know, all these agencies are being funded because of action that the president took, but that's not something that's sustainable over the long term. These agencies need to be funded, and we want to make sure that the agencies that are not going to be handled through reconciliation, ICE and CBP, also have funding for the rest of the fiscal year.
Senator Grassley's intention to vote on AUMF regarding Iran
ceasefire if this conflict goes beyond 90 days, or are you open to voting for an AUMF if that conflict goes beyond 90 days?
I think at this point, most of us, I believe, feel pretty good about what the military, the American military,
Brother SST, good morning,
has achieved there in terms of its objectives. And, that's something, obviously, it's a hypothetical down the road. But I think by and large, if you look at and we're going to have an opportunity to vote on some war powers resolutions the Democrats are going to try and trigger. But I think the administration has a clear objective, a clear plan. And if they can execute on it, hopefully that question won't be a necessary one that we'll have to answer.
All right, this will be the last question that we take because we have so much to still get through, and we got to cram. We're already basically halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through the live stream as we consolidate everything into an hour. You know what I mean? We try to stick within an hour, and once in a while we of course do go into overtime, but we're going to do one more question and then we got to get into Iran war as, quote, halted world's economic momentum, IMF says. And then we're going to get into U.S. says no ships have passed Iran blockade in the first 36 hours. Then we have CENTCOM this morning as of 3 hours ago. CENTCOM declares U.S. dominance of Hormuz Strait amid Iran war. And then, of course, Trump permanently, quote, opening the Strait of Hormuz and China is happy. That is what the quote is so far. So that just came out 3 hours ago, that headline that I just read. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and go back to this, get one last question, and move on.
2 House members that have been forced to resign as a result of sexual assault allegations. Do you believe that there is a culture on Capitol Hill where those who feel that they've been victimized
What's up,
can
Joseph?
report
Good
those
morning.
actions and seek accountability? And if not, should more be done to allow that?
We got all you legends coming in real quick, by the way. We got Sterling Wheel, by the way. Shout out to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
For those potential victims.
I think we're always, there are better ways of ensuring that people in vulnerable situations, like some of them, I'm not familiar with all the particulars and the details, but what happened in the House, ought to have access to a way in which they can get recourse and relief, for sure. And if there's a better way to do that, I'm certainly open to it. I think it's unfortunate what we've observed and seen here in the last few days about certain members of the House of Representatives. And I guess I can tell you that I think we would all attest to the fact that I don't think that's a reflection of these institutions generally, and certainly not something that we would abide here in the United States Senate.
Wow, Sterling Wheel coming in and gifting out 5 gifted memberships right as he wrapped up that question. Thank you very much, sir. Helping not only me, but 5 others in the IWF, my man. Thank you very much for your support on the channel and for the people here. Very much appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on. Iran war has halted world's economic momentum, IMF says. Let's go ahead and bring this up.
You're watching live now. I'm Austin Westfall. The International Monetary Fund is cutting its growth outlook due to the Middle East war, but they also say that the world was already drifting toward a more adverse scenario with much weaker growth. Let's hear from the organization's chief economist who spoke at today's meetings in Washington, D.C.
And by the way, real quick, Fidel also sending in 100 for 2 joules. I very much appreciate that over there on the vertical side. Thank you for making it rain in the chat. And Sterling Wheel says, thank you for stopping by the Church of Wheel, MB. I very much appreciate you for having me on this morning, or it was last night. Thank you for that. Very much appreciate you opening your platform. By the way, if you guys haven't gone over to Sterling Wheel, he makes great, phenomenal content. Make sure you guys go over there and subscribe to him. He's obviously a humongous supporter here on Insane Wheels, and I'd appreciate it if you guys went over there and hit the subscribe button. One of the moderators, please drop his link in the chat.
So despite major trade disruptions and policy uncertainty, last year ended on an upbeat note. The private sector adapted to a changing business environment, helped by lower than announced U.S. tariffs, fiscal support in some countries, favorable financial conditions, and a tech boom. Despite downside risks, this momentum was expected to carry into 2026, and we were looking to lift up our global growth forecast. Now, war
Thank you for that, GEG.
in the Middle East has halted this momentum.
So just a piece of what we heard from them earlier today. They also posted this on social media asking, what's ahead for the global economy in 2026? Some numbers for you. Growth is projected to slow to 3.1% in 2026. Inflation is set to rise to 4.4% before easing to 3.7% in 2027. It's a 0.6 percentage point upward revision relative to January, driven by higher commodity prices. a little bit of...
So these are the growth projections by region coming out from, the IMF. So it shows the United States, this is GDP growth, percentage change, 2.1% in 2025. They're saying 2026 is going to be 2.3% and then back to 2.1% by 2027 for the United States in particular. And you guys can see the difference in the Middle East, Central Asia. They actually get a pretty big boom on their side by 2027. And emerging and developing Asia is going downward. Yeah, interesting stats that they bring
depiction up there, kind of giving you an idea of what different portions of the world are looking like according to their projections. Let's discuss this with Bill Adams. He's the chief U.S. economist at...
Well, we really don't need to get too much into it, but we will hear his opening.
Third Commercial Bank. Bill, always good to see you. How big of a warning is a report like this?
Thank you for that, by the way, Jimmy Mack. You will not be disappointed by the Church of Wheel.
As I was thinking about this report, I couldn't help thinking of the Yogi Berra quote about predictions about being hard, especially the future. This is a very uncertain situation. The IMF has...
And by the way, dude, man, not only groceries, but also we got to bring those gas prices down, man. Just gas and diesel is just outrageous right now.
Set out a base case scenario for how the war could affect the global economy, including the U.S., but they're making a strong assumption about what type of war we have, how long it lasts, what its impact is on energy markets. And this is something that economists really are watching along with everyone else to see how the political situation plays out. So they're assuming a short-lived war.
And by the way, Hero, that's true. Absolutely.
In that case, we would see slower economic growth around the world, but that's primarily concentrated in the Middle East, where the war is happening, of course, and then in the parts of the world that are the biggest importers of energy from the Middle East.
Shit, brother Junkyard coming up in the building saying, we live, baby. Yes, sir. And couldn't agree more. $30 to fill my bike up is too much. I agree. $30 to fill up a fucking motorcycle is ridiculous. That should be like filling up your car, But hey, very much appreciate that, Junkyard. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning as well.
Principally in East Asia and in Europe. So the effect on growth here in the United States is quite a bit less than in those other parts of the world, because the U.S. since 2019 has been a net exporter of petroleum products.
So the IMF is essentially saying the world economy is still growing, but not with the kind of strength that makes people feel secure about things.
And definitely not necessarily on our side of the scale. Well, there's going to be some growth in the Middle East and Central Asia, as you guys can see. So the percentage growth of GDP for the Middle East and Central Asia is going to go up by 3.6% in 2025. That's what it did. 2026, they're looking at a current 1.9%. And then by 2027, they're going to have 4.6%, which is one of the higher sides of GDP growth. All right, let's go ahead and move on, though. U.S. says no ships have passed Iran blockade in the first 36 hours. Let's go ahead and bring that up, and we'll quickly discuss that. Here it goes.
All right, you're watching live now. I'm Austin Westfall, a live look at the White House. President Trump continuing to keep his options open militarily as the ceasefire in Iran remains intact. Of course, it's a fragile ceasefire at that.
Yeah, Cameron, over here, it was like right around $2.30, $2.20, $2.30 before all the war and all this bullshit with Iran. And now we're over $4 a gallon right now. Now, well, that's not even terrible compared to the rest of the country. There are some parts of the country that are just getting totally brutal. I mean, they never even saw $2.30 type fucking prices of fuel in certain areas. California, probably the lowest they saw, if I had to guess, would be like $3.80, maybe $3.60, maybe $3.50. Somewhere in the threes, I would assume, is what the lowest really was on an average for California.
Professor Alon Burstein is here with me to break down the latest on this situation. And I got to say, Alon, one of the main facets of coverage today has to do with, not surprisingly, the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S.
We love our man right here, by the way. We love his in-depth amount of vast knowledge he's got, as well as, shout out to the TISM. Absolutely.
Military claimed earlier today that it has successfully begun to enforce a blockade of Iranian ports. So what's the purpose of the blockade, Alon?
It's good to see you, Austin. So essentially, the United States is trying to hit back at Iran when it comes.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, it's pretty simple to answer, but nonetheless, yes, Iran's only real leverage that they have right now is the Strait of Hormuz. And because of that, they're going to play that card and use exactly their strength in their geographical area to go ahead and shut down a shipping lane. That's why we're coming in with a blockade. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. We want to open up the strait, so let's block the strait. Well, yes, you got to kind of think, layers of an onion here. Well, if they're shutting it down, well, now we have to be able to come in there and shut their shit down because they're allowing their friendly ships to go in and out of the Persian Gulf right there, but not everyone else. So the United States is going, well, if you're going to shut down, we're going to shut down everything, and everyone's going to be shut down.
To the strategic importance of the Straits of Hormuz. Because the Straits of Hormuz is really this tight area that Iran has choked off, give or take a fifth of the world's oil supply and natural gas supply. However, Iran was still permitting ships that would buy oil from it directly or pay some sort of subsidies or something like that to remove ships from it. And until now, they were passing through. The United States is saying, okay, if you're not going to let free passage, there'll be no passage. I will say, at this point, despite the fact that this is meant to cause Iran harm, and some estimates will say it will cause Iran hundreds of millions of dollars per day.
And that's very, very true, Steve Easy. It's huge leverage to basically shut down an entire shipping lane, a channel of where ships go in and out of. Yeah, it's on a global level. They do have the leverage on that, and it definitely does make us look weak.
That said, there are reports that at least between 5 and 10 tankers did pass today, obviously with the approval of the United States. One of these belonged to China. Very possibly the United States wants to do a blockade, but not get in direct war with China at this point. But the aim is really to strike back at Iran, to say, you think that you can control the Straits of Hormuz? We can take it back and say, we'll make sure you can't control it either, as a bargaining position. The sides are trying to negotiate right now.
Damn, in North Carolina, you paid, for diesel. At first, I thought you were saying gas. But yeah, still, that's incredibly expensive for diesel. That's outrageous.
Will the Straits be open or not? Right now, what the United States is saying, Iran can't be the only one to dictate that. The United States also can be the one to
Mr. Al Patterson, I'm sorry, man. Because people were donating on the vertical side, I can't see it, unfortunately, so I have to keep up YouTube chat on my phone, so I wasn't scanning like I usually am supposed to, so I appreciate you calling me out, because trust me, I don't want to miss anybody's contribution. Anyways, Mr. Al Patterson coming in with the Puff Puff Pass, by the way. He says Puff Puff for $4.20. Absolutely, my man. Thank you for that. Actually, let's go ahead and light up our counterclockwise tobacco now. Let's go ahead and get it so we can go ahead and lock in, All right, cheers to everybody. Let's get back to this.
Take that, hoping to come to some sort of compromise.
I was reading President Trump warned on social media earlier today that any Iranian warships nearing the blockade would be destroyed in a, quote, quick and brutal strike. Has anything like that come close to happening yet?
We've had a lot of warnings between the sides. We haven't actually seen, since the ceasefire, we haven't seen the United States or Iran or Israel attack each other. What we saw since then, obviously there's a lot going on between Israel and Hezbollah and Lebanon, but in the Iran arena, what we've seen is coming close to these escalations. On the day of the ceasefire, when the negotiations started, there were 2 U.S. destroyers that were passing through.
Oh yeah, no, you guys go by leaders up there, don't you?
The Straits, conflicting reports as to what happened. The United States said that they did pass safely. Iran published videos showing that their drones approached them and that the warships withdrew. The United States said, no, those videos are fake. Honestly, we don't know at this point. But that's the closest we came to an escalation and an actual bombing between the sides. But here's what we have had. We've had 2 things that are important. One, we had a drone attack that happened in Kuwait City. So Kuwait over here in the area south of...
Holy shit, Sterling. It costs $1,200 per day to run your semi truck and running costs and wages. Wow, that's a lot of money, bro.
Iran, and there was
that's
a drone
big
attack
overhead.
that happened on the very day the ceasefire started. And why that's important is because even though obviously that's associated with what's happening with Iran, that was likely launched by a proxy. That was launched by a militia in Iraq. That's significant. That's Iran showing I can still play games and continue the war even if we have this ceasefire. And similarly...
Hey, by the way, Fidel, thank you for the 2 joules over there, sending 100. I very much appreciate that.
Another important facet is the Straits of Bab el-Mandab, the area that the Houthis have blocked off in the past, the other strait over here. Until now, it's been only threats that there's going to be Houthi attacks against that, but there is one very important report. Another one of the U.S. carriers, I believe was the USS Bush, I think, was on its way to join the area in Iran. And instead of going through the Mediterranean, it has opted to go all the way around.
All the way around, yep. And so we were showing you guys, a lot of ships are actually doing that right now. let's go ahead and show you guys what we're specifically talking about. What in particular, what he's talking about. Okay, so let's go ahead and get up here. Give me a second. Where am I at? How the fuck did I get all the way over here? Honestly, I don't even know. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring it all the way over here. So this is the Strait of Hormuz, okay? As you guys can see, there is no passage going on through here currently. This is right now, current time. So let's go ahead and refresh and make sure, because this was up since yesterday. Yeah, it's the same. Okay, so I'm going to bring down this advertisement. So what he was talking about in particular is down here, if we scroll out, you've got Yemen, and we've brought this map up plenty of times to go ahead and show you guys the shipping channel on this other strait that's right here next to Yemen, which is ran by essentially the Houthi rebels, which is right on this whole area alongside the coast right here, or the strait, I should say, is basically ran by the Houthi rebels. So as we know, the Houthis can get themselves involved at any time. They've actually already threatened to shut down this strait, and there becomes different risks doing that. Okay, so a lot of the oil that's coming in and out of the the Persian Gulf is coming out, and then in other different types of cargo, whatever, as you guys can see, makes this cut around Yemen and then goes through the strait and then goes all the way up into Europe. That is where one of the main shipping channels for Europe is. Anyways, as you guys just heard Homeboy say on the report, is that there are lots of ships going around Africa, which is right here. In particular, as you guys can see, this crazy fucking green line going around the bend of all the way down by South Africa, going all the way up and around and going back up into Europe. So do you know how much fuel it costs to go all the way around instead of doing this little cut? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of fuel being burned, a lot of money. Time, it takes a lot of time, obviously, to do that. You're going to be changing the amount of how long it takes to get somewhere. So yes, this is actively happening, what he was just describing. Let's go ahead and bring it back to him. Let's go ahead and see what he's finishing off with here.
Just not to go through those straits, not to sort of tempt fate and go through the straits where the
Well, I'm sure the insurance companies and the business or the ship owners are probably like, you know what? Fuck all that shit. Let's just burn the extra fuel. Let's go ahead and spend the extra money, and we'll just make sure that our cargo is safe.
Attack. So a lot of threats, a lot of proxy wars, nothing yet, but it shows the fragility of the current situation.
Oh, I was looking. It looks like CENTCOM sent out some information about the work that they've been doing. They say more than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with over a dozen warships and dozens of aircraft, they're executing the mission to blockade ships entering and departing Iranian ports.
What's up, Abe Dinkus? Good morning to you, kind sir. Good morning. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
During the first 24 hours, they say
Let's get
no
the likes
ships
up,
made it
everybody.
past the U.S. blockade, and 6 merchant vessels complied with direction from U.S. forces to turn around to re-enter an Iranian port on the Gulf of Oman. Okay. Alone, another really major facet of this war that
What's up, Extra Surprise? Good morning to you as well.
Today is meetings in D.C. Lebanon and Israel opened their first direct diplomatic talks in decades today in Washington. Marco Rubio took part, but Hezbollah is saying that they won't abide by any agreements made as a result of these meetings, according to the Associated Press. So, Alone, if Hezbollah is not on board, how does that impact what can actually come out of these talks?
Technically, Hezbollah does not need to be on board. Even when we had the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon back in 2024, that was not with Hezbollah. Hezbollah did not sign on to that. Lebanon is different than the situation in Gaza. If I zoom into Lebanon, we can see the amount of fire and bombings that are happening in the areas of Beirut up here and in southern Lebanon over here. And while these engagements are happening, they are happening theoretically between Israel and Hezbollah, while Israel is threatening to also target Lebanese infrastructure. They haven't done that at least wholesale until now. I will say, though, when it comes to these talks and people's expectations from them, it has to be taken in context. What happened, very quick timeline, 6 weeks ago when the escalation started and Hezbollah joined the fray, Lebanon offered to have direct talks with Israel towards a peace treaty. It was their way to say, let's de-escalate. Israel never responded. Israel engaged with Hezbollah. Hezbollah was firing lots of rockets and drones. Israel invaded southern Lebanon even further. Then, what happened when the ceasefire was declared with Iran, Israel launched a massive airstrike in Lebanon. Iran screamed ceasefire is going to be over. Trump called Netanyahu and said, you have to end the massive bombing campaign. What Israel then did is turn around and said, okay, so then we'll start those negotiations. At this point, I dare say those negotiations are mostly for show, and I'll tell you why. It's two things. One,
well, yeah, Bibi Netanyahu does not want any type of ceasefire. I can tell you that. He wants to go all the way with it. I can promise you.
it is happening between ambassadors. Ambassadors do not
he
negotiate
said it himself.
agreements between countries.
So.
Ambassadors, that's not their job, that's not their role, it's not their expertise. It is happening right now with photo ops with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State in the United States, in order for the United States to show that they can placate the situation if necessary. That's the main function here. The talks today were not even about any framework agreement. They were about if the sides can agree to negotiate, to start negotiations while there's still active fire going on. Lebanon.
What's up, Monobomb Virginia, saying stopping in to catch the horizontal side again. Good day to y'all. Hope y'all have a great show, Mike Ball. Appreciate you, my man, always.
Has demanded that Israel declare a ceasefire. Israel said no. That's what the talks were about today. So it is very significant because it's the first time in decades, since the 1980s, that there's direct talks between Israel and Lebanon. It is significant because it's showing, again, the power that the way Trump can pretty much compel the different countries to do something just because he wants to see it done. At the same time, nothing's going to come out of these talks with regards to an agreement. Because again, the last thing I'll say about that, not only is it ambassadors, in general, politicians are not the ones that make the deals. Politicians are the ones that sign the deals.
Correct. That's very true what he just stated, by the way. And yes, we got to get the likes up, everybody. Again, I know that there's a lot of craziness that's happening in the world and within the United States, but that doesn't mean you guys can't like what we're doing here and being able to present what we are here on Insane Wheels. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side, and hit that subscribe button if you guys are new here. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and then of course Saturday morning for members only.
If there is any meaningful negotiation, that involves generals meeting on both sides. That involves people with expertise of maps. That involves international lawyers. Ultimately, it's the politicians that then come and sign the deal. They approve the deal. They don't negotiate the nitty-gritty. And that's the same thing I said when Vice President Vance left the talks in Islamabad. Everyone was saying negotiations have crashed. I said that into itself does not show that it's crashed. J.D. Vance may be a very smart guy. He doesn't know what level of enriched uranium has to be this, has to be that. That is the technical teams that will eventually negotiate a deal, and he'll be there to sign it. Now, the fact that he left those meetings was symbolic, but again, what matters is, are the sides still talking? Right now, Israel and Lebanon, it's just politicians talking. It's not anything meaningful with regards to an actual deal. It's significant in terms of maybe building something towards the future, but at this point, it's really just ceremonial to say there's a channel of communication that's being opened. We'll see where it goes, if it goes anywhere.
So, got this. This is a post from the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. saying, "We have the courage to pursue peace through strength and to work tirelessly for tranquility and prosperity for all. At the negotiation table today, I commended the Lebanese president and his government for not allowing itself to be held hostage to the threats of Hezbollah's leader."
Good morning, Lou, by the way. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Hopefully you're enjoying your Wednesday morning so far. Definitely know that we are.
One more thing for you, Alon, about Iran. And of course, we're going to be tracking Lebanon closely. It's worth doing that. But one final thing on Iran before we go. What does your gut tell you? What's the likelihood that we do see peace talks start back up again? I know the ceasefire, it doesn't end for another week, I believe, a little bit over a week. So what's the chances that the two sides get back together in Pakistan or perhaps elsewhere?
So I'll say this. I think there's a big chance that the sides are going to get back together to talk because they both have an interest in talking. You know, Trump, for all of the rhetoric, has very little interest in seeing the violence returning. It has not done him well politically at all, and it has complicated.
Yeah, no kidding. It's definitely not helped him.
The situation economically, and he would like to see the de-escalation. He has his terms, but he would like to see the de-escalation. Iran certainly would like to see the de-escalation. So I definitely think that we'll see the sides coming back to talking. I would hesitate about calling it peace talks. There's not going to be peace between Iran and the United States. What we're looking for right now is some way where both sides can say, I walked away from this as a winner because here is what I...
Right, and that's exactly what both sides are trying to figure out how they're going to do that. How am I going to paint to the world that we won and they lost, and vice versa? They're going to tell their side of the story and say that we won and they lost. So how's that going to happen?
Got the other side to agree to. I do think that they will come back to talking. My gut tells me that they're going to come back to talking. They're going to announce some minor advances, and then they'll postpone the end of the ceasefire. They'll say the ceasefire, instead of 2 weeks, they'll give it another 2 weeks. And we saw Trump doing this. We saw him doing this with the deadlines to Iran. It was 48 hours and 5 days and 10 days each time. I think we'll see something like that while the sides try to work things out. The two main bones of contention that right now exist relate to the uranium, the enriched uranium. According to reports in the New York Times, Iran offered to postpone any enrichment for 5 years. The United States demanded 20 years, and also the removal of the enriched uranium that's in Iran right now. Iran said no. And the second thing is obviously the Straits of Hormuz. Iran is not only demanding that it have complete custody over the Straits, but it's also demanding that ships will have to pay a tax in order to pass. Iran is saying this is going to be their way, instead of reparations to the United States for the war, this is going to be their way to rebuild.
Yeah, and they're not theoretically able to do that because the Strait of Hormuz is not actually owned by Iran. Yes, Iran on a geographical level, they are alongside that entire strait. But that is an international passageway. So listen, it's not really owned by anybody, you know. I mean, you got Oman down there that has, you know, part of it on their side, on the south side of the strait. And then you have Iran to the north. And it's an international strait. So that's why there's not going to be any type of where the United States is going to go, okay, you can go ahead and collect $1 per barrel tax so that you can go ahead and get your $2 million per fucking tanker that goes through or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that we're going to see concessions from the United States, unfortunately. Like what I'm explaining also, you guys have to understand, I am not talking about what ought be or what should be. I'm talking about what is, okay? My personal opinion on Iran is much different than what, you know, what you would think probably just by hearing my unbiased takes of talking about what is. But I mean, in my point of view, we shouldn't have even been in Iran this whole lot. We shouldn't have been there at all. So I've been saying that since day one, since been reporting the day it started.
States is saying no. That's really
shit. Days before it started, we were talking about it, how we should not do it.
negotiating. There's a lot of other smaller details. That's the crux. That's the crux of where we are. And the sides are going to try, I would bet, to meet again, see if they can have some sort of breakthrough, and then they'll prolong the ceasefire while they actually work it out.
Professor Lomberstein with us tonight. How can people find your content and your courses?
Look me up on the Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, and this guy right here, he is a sharp dude. He really does have his information on point. I always do appreciate his reports, even though it can be a little bit quote unquote boring, because it's a lot of information just being thrown, and he's very good at that, but he is also monotone a little bit. All right, so 4 hours ago, CENTCOM declares U.S. dominance of Hormuz Strait amid Iran war. Now, what they're talking about dominance is naval dominance, that we are on a maritime level, have taken over the strait in Navy. So let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll quickly discuss this. We've got 2 reports on this. We'll quickly go through them. Here we go.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We are taking a live look at the Strait of Hormuz there, courtesy of our this is marine traffic, and they have a radar system there, one that we have been showing throughout the last several weeks as we are following these developments very closely, specifically having to do with U.S. operations there across the Middle East and specifically in Iran. Now, I bring this up here because earlier this morning we posed this question to our viewers.
That's very true, by the way. We are going into overtime today. We are already 2 minutes into OT, and we still got this story and the next story to talk about. Now, we're not going to play this whole thing, by the way. We're just going to go ahead and get a little bit and see if we can actually skim through and see if we get answers and, you know, questions answered, as well as if there is any actual tweets or posts, I should say, posts from the president or any governmental official from either side.
We want you all to submit your questions now. What questions do you have about U.S. operations in the Strait of Hormuz? To submit your question, you can.
Well, we already know the answers to those. I mean, at least here on this channel, and our opinion on it. Let's go ahead and move and see if there's any posts from any governmental official. There is something here. Let's go ahead and see what this is.
But right now, we have freedom of maneuver. We have overall control of what takes place through the Straits of Hormuz in the southern part of the Persian Gulf and the northern part of the Gulf of Oman. So that gives us that control, that freedom of maneuver to do what we want, set the pace of those operations, but it does not eliminate that entire threat. Just like with our air, we had freedom of maneuver over Iranian airspace, but that doesn't.
Okay, CENTCOM says a blockade of Iranian ports has been fully implemented as the U.S. forces maintain maritime superiority in the Middle East. An estimated 90% of Iran's economy is fueled by international trade by sea. In less than 36 hours since the blockade was implemented, U.S. forces have completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea. That is coming from the CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper.
Doesn't mean we eliminated the entire air defense threat, as it was likely one of those shoulder fire SAMs that brought down our F-15, where we had to go in and do the search and rescue to rescue that crew. So there's still a threat out there, but we control the overall situation and pace of how things are going to develop.
And this is just the social media post courtesy of CENTCOM.
And I just read it, so we don't need her to read it for you. All right. I was figuring that they were going to move on from it a little bit. Guess not. Okay, so we got, this is breaking as of just a couple of hours ago. Trump permanently opening Strait of Hormuz. Quote, China is happy. All right, let's go ahead and bring it up and we'll go ahead and discuss it real quick. Let's see what's happening this morning.
As oil prices fell on hopes for an end to this fighting, and in the U.S., stocks surged close to records set in January. Now, meanwhile, in Washington, the first direct talks in decades between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors to the U.S. concluded on a productive note Tuesday. That's according to the U.S. State Department. An initial round of talks held last weekend, though, in Pakistan, aimed at permanently ending the U.S.-Iran conflict, failed to produce an agreement. The White House said Iran's nuclear ambitions were a central sticking point. Now, President Trump saying that this war could be coming to a close shortly here. I want to play out.
What's up, Papa Penguin? Good morning to you, by the way. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Trump is about to come out and say something real quick. Let's see what he's got to say.
This soundbite from Fox.
Shit.
I had to divert because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon.
This came out last night, by the way.
You would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
That was a post there from President Trump. My producer's actually just flagging for me here. This is a new Truth Social that the White House just shared from President Trump saying China
This is the part that is brand new this morning.
is very happy that I'm permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I'm doing it for them also and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. All right, joining us now is Jonathan Said with the Foundation for
Talking about the agreement of no weapons being sent from China to Iran.
Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to break this all down for us.
Hi, Christy. It's great to be with you again.
Let's just start with this news that just came out from the White House, that post there from President Trump speaking on the Strait of Hormuz. What's your initial reaction to that?
Well, it's no surprise that ultimately China wants the goods to the supply chain to still flow.
What guy are you talking about?
Flow through the strait. Even though when we talk about the strait being closed or open, we should not be looking at it in black and white terms. This is something that Tehran was dictating as to who gets to pass, and Chinese vessels were allowed to cross. But that said, that doesn't mean the supply chain as a whole was resolved, which is ultimately something that China prefers for it to be open. Frankly, most countries in the world are still implicated by these economic challenges. So that's not necessarily a surprise.
Well, that's going to go for any media outlet, by the way.
But let's see how effective this blockade will be, because the key term with any economic pressure, whether it's going to be sanctions or this naval blockade, is persistence. If the idea is for us to somehow build leverage, then it's going to take time. So that's going to be a bit challenging to want to end the war really soon, but at the same time be tapping into tools that are really for a long-term strategy. But we have to wait and see whether the administration is simply trying to build leverage for talks, or they're just using this blockade to deprive the regime of cash flow to maybe tap into something internal, might want to deprive the repression apparatus and the military establishment from a salary so they can get some internal fractures. We have to wait and see.
And as we're taking a live look there at the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump saying he's permanently opening the strait, really when we're talking about oil prices and what we can expect going forward over the next coming days or weeks here, as now people are getting excited that talks may resume. What can we expect to see out of the Strait of Hormuz here?
Of course, markets are going to react to perception more than what's really the facts on the ground.
Of course, that's always how the fucking stock market works. It works off of human emotion and what they think is stability or virality. Any of those, volatility. I mean, it's not really going to necessarily reflect the actual facts. Like right now, I mean, shit, my money's up like a motherfucker. I'm going to be honest on the stock market aspect. But I look at these kind of things, like fluctuations of market, to be really human emotions, not necessarily the actual value of the business per se. It could reflect that a little bit, maybe 5% of the market may reflect that. But really the rest of the market is just human emotions. So absolutely.
Still, some Iranian vessels were able to allegedly pass the blockade. Again, none of it is necessarily confirmed, and it doesn't specify what vessels they were, nor did
I hear you, Frank. I hear you.
It say which
Good morning, by the
they
way.
eventually used. But for this blockade to be also long-term and parallel strategy needs to be some sort of a humanitarian channel, because Iran still relies heavily on food, grains, and different material that it imports, medicine as well. So we need to ensure that we don't let the regime win the PR battle. We want to ensure that, similar with the maximum pressure campaign, it is very clear for the world to see that our blockade is specifically against.
Yeah, it's basically however you can paint it, whoever's got the leverage, really.
Iranian
That's what he's
illicit
getting
oil
at.
exports, arm exports, and imports, and it's not there to target the average Iranian. That's very critical. But when we talk about any form,
Yeah, and I know that, Steve. Trust me, I'm a big proponent of somebody that will definitely advise people to get themselves into gold and silver. And yes, it did crash a little bit there for a little bit, but then it's actually on its way up right now as we speak, actually. And you know what's interesting is gold and silver did not react the same way that we usually see gold and silver react during war. We're actually watching, gold and silver futures, all this, and the market of gold and silver basically react not necessarily to the immediate. They're actually looking long term on their market, which is surprising, because I totally thought it would be kind of the opposite. Like my stocks took a dip, but so did my precious metals. I would assume that my stocks were going to take a dip and then my gold and silver were going to go up, but that really didn't happen. But nonetheless, now we're watching the steady increase of gold and silver for the last, about month at this point, since it made its major crash. And so anyways, absolutely right though.
Of economic pressure on a regime and similar
But again, look long term.
Now, I also wanted to ask you about this, with both sides signaling an in-principle agreement, which is what is being called here, to extend the ceasefire. How real is the momentum towards a lasting deal this time?
So I think we heard that the sticking point again is Iran's nuclear ambitions, and on the surface, it seems like there's a compromise. On one hand, Washington says halt enrichment for 20 years. Then Tehran's rebuttal was, let's say, 5 or 10 years. But the issue with that is similar with the JCPOA. We haven't heard the details, meaning we don't know.
What's up, Stephanie? And no, unfortunately, Naomi had to dip out. I think she said she had some sort of meeting or appointment or something. So yeah, unfortunately, you missed
what the halt to enrichment means. Are they going to give up all their centrifuges, or are they simply going to just temporarily put them out of order? And that was the challenge with the JCPOA. They still maintain a lot of their centrifuges. They still, in theory, were able to have a close breakout period. If this is going to be the same situation where Iran doesn't give up most of its centrifuges, then that begs the question, how is it going to be any better or reliable than the JCPOA? The issue with Iranian enrichment is not simply the fact that it's getting postponed, let's say even 100 years. It's
to answer this, Lou, no, I would assume that we are pretty depleted on Fort Knox. Absolutely.
It's about what capability the regime possesses. So that is not a simple sticking point, I would say. And on top of that, you have two more lingering issues that were never part of conversation to begin with, such as the Strait of Hormuz being one, or Iran asking for somehow a compensation for a war that it effectively instigated by weaponization. So you see this ambitious regime that is now demanding stuff that has never demanded before. Because of those, I don't see this being as probable as what we might think. But that said, we reached a point that maybe two sides would benefit from a longer ceasefire. Iran wants to project an image of calm domestically, and so does Trump with the market. So we have to wait and see, but extension of the ceasefire does not necessarily translate to success in talks.
Let's stay on that, because that was
all right. So let's go and see if there's any more posts from the president or from any governmental official from either side on this. If we don't, we're going to go, oh, here's something here. Nope, we have already seen that. They're just bringing it back on the screen at the end there as they close. All right, so that brings us up into current time. Listen, that brings us to the end of the show. I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for showing love, support, hitting that like button, double tapping that screen if you're on the vertical side, hitting that subscribe button. I'm very honored to be able to do this Monday through Friday, and members only on Saturday, man. And it's all because of you guys that allow me to be able to do that. So listen, stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Sterling Wheel. He's live right now, so make sure you guys stick around for that and let him know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. So listen, we'll see you guys here tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. Until then, and also, by the way, we do have the Diamond Effect tonight at 7:10 p.m. We're going to be talking about the Strait as well. So Aaron and AB will go ahead and give us their thoughts on the Strait of Hormuz, and in particular, what's happening in current times. So anyways, we'll be back tonight for that, and then more of the World's Madness tomorrow morning. All right, much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and earth, the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. to submit.